guys, what's up? It's John here again. It's a beautiful day, and I am going to do a little vlog. Going to do 2 today is the plan. I'm going to try and get some stuff published. So, a lot of you have been asking me various questions about getting new to riding, beginning motorcycle riding, new riders, that sort of thing, and you've asked for a lot of beginner videos, and one of the questions has been the clutch. I've only gotten a couple comments like that, but a lot of people have stopped me kind of out on the street kind of thing. I've run into people who talked about wanting to ride a motorcycle, and they say that manually shifting the motorcycle is one of the things that they're afraid of, that they're worried about. And essentially their concern is they don't know how to drive a stick. They don't know how to drive a manual transmission car, and they feel like they're going to have to learn 2 things at once. And that's a valid concern, a valid question. And so I'm just going to do a really short video. There's other ones on YouTube as well that go more in depth, and that's why I'm going to do a short one, because you don't need me to redo what's already been done. I need to get up real quick. I forgot my sunglasses. Okay, I'm going to do a real short video on shifting a motorcycle. Now, shifting a motorcycle, look how messy my garage is. Shifting a motorcycle is actually a lot simpler than you might think it is. Now, I drive a manual transmission car. It's parked outside because normally it parks right here, and so I move it outside so I can get my bike out. And I drive a manual transmission car, nothing exciting, Ford Focus, and I love it, but it's very, very different, and it's 2 very, very different things, and I find a motorcycle easier because the hand clutch is just so much more tactful. You can feel and be more sensitive with your hands. You know, there aren't a lot of people who play piano with their toes, right? Your hands are more capable of doing fine things than your feet are. So really having your clutch up here on your hand and your shifter down here at your foot makes actually the most sense. And so it's a lot easier, and I want you to understand that. Now, the main thing to understand, if you don't know anything about manual transmissions, is the clutch. This is the bad boy right here that causes all the problems. This one happens to be a cable clutch. That means there's a cable that runs all the way down to the transmission, to the clutch, and pulls on the clutch and releases it so that you can shift. And basically what's happening is the engine's spinning, right? When the engine's on, it's spinning. Right now it's not because it's off, but when the engine is on, it's spinning. And you have a tire, a back wheel, that's not moving, and there's a transmission in between there. The problem we have here is you got to keep this engine spinning without letting the transmission spin when you're stopped. So the clutch sits in the middle and allows that to happen. The clutch disconnects the engine from the transmission. That's all it does. When you release the clutch, you release it slowly so that the transmission begins to spin, and they start to spin at the same time, and then you can move forward and you can shift. That's why shifting after first gear is easier, because this is already spinning. So that's the basics of what a clutch is and how it works. Now, how to use it is pretty simple. Now, you need to find the friction zone. That's really all there is to it for a clutch. Mine happens to be way far out, partly because my clutch is starting to wear out, 30,000 miles. It's not to the point it needs replacing, but it will need replacing eventually. And so my friction zone happens to be towards the end of the travel. That's about it right there. And this is what you want to see. You want to have a little bit of play at the end, otherwise your clutch won't fully disengage. So you pull the clutch all the way in whenever you start the bike or whenever you're stopped. And you'll start to release it, and you'll start to feel it grab. You'll start to feel it kind of grab and move forward a little bit. And as you release it more, it'll start to grab more. And depending on the bike, you may need to add a little bit of throttle. One of the biggest mistakes people make, and I'm going to show you that here in a second, is they give it too much throttle and let it rev up. You cannot let it rev up, because when this is spinning really fast and that starts to grab here, you start to take off. And I'm going to let you hear what that sounds like real quick. This is the number 1 beginner mistake. So we're started, we're idling. The right way to do it is to release it slowly. See how it's starting to grab? I'm not moving the bike, I'm just standing still. As I start to release, it starts to grab and move forward just a little bit. You can really do this. Don't do it too much because you'll overheat the clutch, but get used to that friction zone. Just let it out, just real slow. I'm going to show you this. Very little. Not letting out very much at all. Not giving it any throttle. But what they'll do is they'll start to do that, and then they'll start to do it too quick. And see what happens? It kind of bogs down. If I do it really fast, it kills the engine. So they understand that. So rather than moving slower, they want to add throttle. Now, you're going to need to do that if you're on a hill, and when you become more proficient, you're going to want to do that just to make things faster. This is what they do. Start to let it out, and then that's exactly what they do. They add a little bit of throttle, but they're going too slow on the clutch now because they're scared, and they let it rev way up. And when it revs way up like that, stop. Let your hand up off the throttle, pull the clutch all the way in, breathe, take a break, start over. So we let out, we're revving it up, we stop. You're going to have to get used to just a little bit of throttle. You hear how the bike sounds right now at idle? That's the way it needs to sound while you're releasing the clutch when you're first starting out. When you get more experience, you can do whatever you want. You can start to rev it up a little bit and take off a little harder, but this is what it needs to sound like. See, it doesn't rev up, just at idle and maybe just above idle, and we release the clutch slowly. And you notice I keep releasing the clutch. Once I start moving, I don't let go of it. I just keep releasing the clutch. And so we're rolling out here. I don't know if this thing's batteries are dead. I might not be able to shut my garage door. Nah, I won't. That's all right. So we start rolling forward. We start to rev up, and it's time to shift again. Well, shifting from first to second is really, really easy. Pull the clutch in, and on my bike and on almost all bikes, you're going to find that shifting from first to second is to pull up once on the shifter. Then I just release the clutch again, and I'm in gear. Now, it bogged down a little bit because it let it slow down while I was explaining that to you guys, and I'm going up a little bit of a hill here. But the thing to understand, and I'm going to go this way, which there's absolutely nothing out there, and that's why I'm going that way. Thing to understand there, I'm going to pull out here, is that once we're moving, it's really easy to shift. In fact, on my bike, I can show you. See, I just close and release. After shifting from first, when you watch the clutch, it's a piece of cake. Now, on some bikes, that may be a little trickier. You may have to release a little slower from first to second, second to third, so on and so forth. But basically, the only thing you got to worry about is coming from a dead stop and starting, and that's easy. It's easier than you might think it is. So that's it. That's all I'm really going to show you. There's not much to it. Just keep an eye on that. You know, release the clutch slowly. Don't let the bike rev up. Don't make that rookie mistake that's going to get you hurt and going to cause you to wreck the bike. Just release it slowly. Look here, perfect, a stop sign. So we'll stop here. And we release slowly. And we're releasing out. Couldn't be any easier, right? Now I'm shifting fairly early, very early in fact. But that's okay on a bike like this. On a cruiser with a V-twin motorcycle, they have torquey engines that produce a lot of low-end torque. If you're on a sport bike, you're going to need to rev it a little higher between shifts. But the other thing is, don't think you need to take it to the red line every time you shift. I've actually gotten that comment a few times that people say, oh, I'm short shifting, yada, yada, yada. It's not a race. It's okay to shift early. In fact, it's preferable to shift early when you're just cruising around, and most of the time because you don't want to stress out the engine at really high RPMs. So shift at an appropriate time. Your user's manual and your motorcycle should tell you when. It gives you an idea of when to shift. You'll find that you'll just kind of do it by sound eventually, and you'll know what your bike sounds like. But this is what I want you to avoid. I'm going to shift in a fifth, and I'm going to slow down. I'm going to make a sound that your bike should never, ever make. Do you hear that? Do you hear that kind of that rattle? I'm going to slow way down. Do you hear that? That is too low. That is short shifting. That's a good, nice slope. It gets up, I know the sound, I shift again, stays in that nice slope. Now at this speed in this gear, if I were going up a steep hill, I'd have to downshift, otherwise it would start rattling like that again. So you just got to do it by sound, and eventually you'll figure it out. Okay guys, if you have any questions, let me know, shoot me a comment, shoot me a message, whatever. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight. Don't worry about it, you got it, you got this under control, it's easier than it looks. Just be calm, be patient. Spend an hour in your driveway rolling forward and then pushing yourself back with your feet. I mean, really, it's no big deal. Just take your time and get used to that friction zone. All right, guys. God bless. I'll talk to you later. Bye.